connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
It is 6 o'clock already. Good morning, Idaho, and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Columbus Day, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, and boy, is it a big day today. Lots to get to both internationally and from our large team of neighborhood reporters. Like the breaking news this morning that the last remaining Israeli hostages have been released back to their families as a major step in the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. The president overseas in Israel today. Plus, an update on the Boise psychiatrist who has been arrested for sexual abuse of his patients. He's been apprehended once again after he fled to California. Details on how that happened coming up in just a moment. But first, let's get the latest on our weather to kick things off this morning with Isaiah Sharp. Good morning, Isaiah.
Good morning to you, Roland. Temperatures a little bit cooler than what we saw on last Friday. Last time I was here, we saw 74 as the high, which is impressive this time of year. Anytime, honestly, when it's 4, 5, 6 a.m. Current temperatures a little bit more normal, 46, and that's what we're seeing a lot across a lot of the region. 47 over in Emmett, but 45s and 46s for a lot of the region. Getting into those mountains, seeing 30s the temperature. We do have a little bit of rain passing on through the region as well, something to pay attention to in this early morning hour, but shouldn't have too much of an impact on the day. Nice and clear conditions are expected for a majority of Idaho, but when it comes to the rest of the week, we do have chances of showers on the way and cooler temperatures, which means we potentially could see some snow in the higher elevations. We'll talk all that more coming up.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Isaiah. Appreciate it. We turn now immediately to that breaking news this morning with the Israeli hostages. And this is what we know. History unfolding in the Middle East this morning after more than 2 years in captivity. The 20 remaining living Israeli hostages held by Hamas have finally been released after a ceasefire deal. The hostages are being reunited with families and getting medical checks. Over 1,900 Palestinian prisoners will also be released by Israel. The bodies of 28 dead hostages will be handed over, though the timing of that is unclear. The ceasefire pauses 2 years of war that has killed more than 67,000 Palestinians after the initial Hamas attack on October 7th that killed over 1,200 Israelis. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says Qatari leadership has played a, quote, substantial part in the Israel-Hamas peace deal, and what comes next will be close to home.
Today, we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho.
The new base will host Qatari F-15 fighter jets with the goal of furthering training for both the U.S. and Qatari forces.
Location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership.
Qatari training in Mountain Home is not a new discussion. A Qatari Air Force commander visited Mountain Home in 2023 when Air Force leaders discussed the potential for both forces to strengthen the U.S.-Qatar security partnership. In response to the announcement, Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson wrote on X, quote, "This development is beneficial for training, enhances our partnership with America's allies, and strengthens national security." Idaho News 6 confirmed the news with the Mountain Home Air Force Base, a duty officer saying the partnership will foster combined operation readiness. The Boise psychiatrist accused of sexually assaulting a patient is back in custody after cutting off his GPS monitor while on bail and fleeing to California. He was apprehended later, according to the Ada County Sheriff's Office. 45-year-old Alexander Willis had his license suspended last week after multiple complaints and what officials called an immediate danger to public safety. He bonded out of jail on October 6, but then cut off his GPS monitor while on bail, and authorities had lost track of his whereabouts until now. He is scheduled to be in court in California on October 14th, likely for an extradition hearing. A 65-year-old woman has been charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault after pulling a gun on 2 people outside of a Boise Costco over the weekend. Boise police responding to a reported road rage incident at 1:30 on Saturday, and evidence indicates the suspect, 65-year-old Deborah Franklin of Boise, pointed her firearm at 2 people from her vehicle. She then parked her car and went inside Costco. Authorities located Franklin as she was exiting the store and booked her into the Ada County Jail on 2 counts of aggravated assault, both classified as felonies. New information over the weekend regarding the death of a Caldwell CEO in Baltimore. The medical examiner's office listing Nicholas Manning's death as methamphetamine intoxication. As Idaho News 6 has reported, Manning, the CEO of West Valley Medical Center, was found dead in a Baltimore hotel this summer. Baltimore police saying they responded to a report of a possible overdose and that Manning's body had no signs of trauma.
After years of sitting unfinished, this development in downtown Meridian now has new ownership.
It's a relief. It's been kind of an eyesore for the last 4 years.
This 2-block unfinished development across from City Hall has become Meridian's Boise Hole. Now neighbors are looking forward to the future. Developer Tommy Alquist helped reimagine the real Boise Hole at 8th and Main over a decade ago and bought part of the property at auction for over $6.5 million.
Got a lot of challenges, but there was a reason that was planned for there to begin with. And we're just excited to come in and imagine what it could be. There's a lot of work to be done.
As I reported, the original developer, Galena, owed more than $20 million to its contractors as of last September, having gone unfunded and into debt. The property was put up for auction days ago. Now, Oakland Construction, who own the west portion of the parcel, will work with Alquist and Pacific companies out of Eagle to deliver on a project.
So we're very invested in making sure that this thing happens.
Before construction could start up again on the lot, crews will need to assess the current condition of the old project. The developers say they hope to be building in the next year or 2. In Meridian, I'm neighborhood reporter Ali Tripke for Idaho News 6.
The Idaho Sled Dog Challenge happens at the end of January, but what do mushers and their teams do in the off-season? I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, and I met up with a local team who's preparing to go to the Dryland World Championships.
The World Championships is kind of like the Sled Dog Summer Olympics. This is the first year it's been held in the United States.
I first met Rick Katuki at the Idaho Sled Dog Challenge, where he served as the race marshal for 3 years, and he's competed for more than 20 years. He loves to race, and so do his dogs.
My dogs are Alaskan Huskies.
So Merle, Loretta, and Rick started training with a bike and a scooter.
It's an adventure.
As something to do outside of winter.
Good job, guys.
And to navigate the Eagle Bike Park, Rick uses verbal commands and says his dogs listen for directions for what to do next on the trail.
Total voice commands. When we come to trail forks, I can command them to go left or right. I can tell them to speed up. I can tell them to slow down.
Rick leaves this week, and the World Championships kick off next Tuesday. I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, for Idaho News 6.
When we get back, new details on the altercation between Mark Sanchez and an elderly man that put both parties in the hospital. The former quarterback speaking out for the first time this morning. All right, it is 10 minutes past the hour on this Monday. Let's take a look at your national headlines this morning. And we begin actually internationally. Hamas has released all 20 remaining living hostages from Gaza as part of a huge ceasefire deal announced this morning. The hostages are being reunited with their families and getting medical checks. Over 1,900 Palestinian prisoners, meanwhile, will also be released by Israel. The bodies of 28 dead hostages, meanwhile, will be handed over, although the timing of that is unclear. The ceasefire pauses 2 years of war that has killed tens of thousands. Meanwhile, President Trump arrived in Israel, where he'll meet with hostage families and speak to Parliament. That's been going on already this morning. Trump declared the war is over, but major questions do remain about Gaza's future. Israel wants Hamas to disarm, but Hamas refuses. Israeli troops have withdrawn from Gaza mostly, but they remain in key areas. Trump will head to Egypt for a summit with leaders from more than 20 countries after his visit to Israel today. And today marks 2 holidays in the U.S., Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. Columbus Day first became a federal holiday in 1892, while Indigenous Peoples Day wasn't formally recognized until 2021, though it's not considered a federal holiday. It recognizes native land and acknowledges the contributions Native Americans have made to the country. However, in a presidential proclamation in April, President Trump said he wants to bring back Columbus Day from the ashes. In a Truth Social post, the president wrote, quote, "The Democrats did everything possible to destroy Christopher Columbus, his reputation, and all of the Italians that love him so much." We turn now to that bizarre story that we brought you last week of former professional quarterback Mark Sanchez getting stabbed. After waking up in the hospital, he's now facing felony charges, and this morning he speaks out for the very first time. ABC's Faith Abube has the story.
Mark Sanchez is speaking out for the first time since allegedly starting a back alley brawl that left him fighting for his life. The former New York Jets quarterback saying, "I'm focused on my recovery and I just want to see my wife. I want to see my son and my 2 baby girls." He was in Indianapolis last week for the Colts-Raiders game, but instead of calling the game for Fox, he wound up in the hospital and arrested for allegedly starting a violent altercation in a hotel loading dock. Video obtained by TMZ shows Sanchez in an alley just before the fight. You can see the truck pulling up to collect used cooking oil from the hotel. Moments later, Sanchez appears in the same alley where prosecutors say he suddenly attacked the driver, 69-year-old Perry Toll.
My client's a 5'8", 165-year-old senior citizen, 69 years old. Mark Sanchez is a former professional athlete, 6'2", 235. He's just thankful to be alive and is recovering at home with his wife.
Sanchez was pepper sprayed and stabbed during the altercation. This video obtained by the New York Post shows him clutching his wounds, while Toll's attorneys claim in a civil lawsuit that Toll suffered severe permanent disfigurement, loss of function, other physical injuries, and emotional distress and other damages. Sanchez left the hospital yesterday and was booked for felony battery, which could carry up to 6 years in prison if he's convicted. Sanchez telling WXIN there'll be a day to answer all these questions, and unfortunately, today is not that day. Faith Abube, ABC News.
The Idaho Veterans and Patriots Association take vets out off-roading.
Taking a look at our neighborhood of the day, up in beautiful Cascade this time of year. Chances of rain expected and some chances of snow expected for the area a little bit later into this week. Expecting 52 and some gusts, potentially up to 22 miles an hour. So not the best way to start the week, but hey, we'll talk about those chances of snow coming up in a few moments.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Taking a look at some of the temperatures we are going to be seeing today, into those 60s for a majority of the region. Only place that sees even the slightest chance of breaking 70 degrees is Glens Ferry. Nice 50s up into those mountain ranges too. And yes, those chances of showers expected for some parts. We do have a little bit of precipitation passing on through just to the west of the Treasure Valley region, but that shouldn't have too much of an impact on the day. That being said, though, chances of rain and even thunderstorm activity are on the way as we go into this work week. So let's take a look at those chances moving on in. So our futurecast showing those light bits of snow just to the north of the Treasure Valley region into those mountain ranges. But we are expecting some activity to start to take a bit of an uptick heading into Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when we really start to see that rain moving on in. This will unfortunately be during the time that I'm commuting into work for Good Morning Idaho. But still, rain on the way for the Treasure Valley region. And take a look at all of that snow expected on the way. Exciting stuff to see for skiers and snowboarders, that is, but really impressive to see that dark blue. Usually this time of year we're seeing a lot of these light blues that you see over the top of places like Stanley, just to the north of Arco too, but this deeper blue, that's indication of potentially a couple inches on the way for some parts of the higher elevations. Plenty of rain on the way, and this is going to develop right over the top of the border of Oregon and Idaho, bringing in a lot of rain for the region, and those chances of snow even for the Oahe region, something to pay attention to. Fingers crossed, though, I'm assuming that we're going to start to see a little bit of a clearing out as we head into the middle of the week. Going into Thursday, Friday, skies should be looking a little bit better. Let's take another look. This is the global forecasting system. And they actually have this system tracking a little bit further to the south, so something to pay attention to as we head into the middle of the week. Chances of showers expected tomorrow and expected on the middle of the week as well. But that low pressure system going to be bringing in those chances of rain and snow for the central mountain regions. But this looks as though it's going to pass right over the top of the Twin Falls area. So something to watch out for going into the middle of this week, but still going to see those chances of showers. And then heading into Thursday and Friday, a nice clearing out on the way, and hopefully a bump in temperatures might come along with that as well. Futurecast showing some of the snowfall totals on the way. This is an updated map, and it's bringing down some of those totals from earlier what we saw. Only expecting about potentially 3.5 inches to the north of McCall, and the Ketchum area seeing about an inch or two on the way. Exciting nonetheless. I'm excited for the snow to start to fall. It's going to be a great ski season, hopefully. Those chances of thunderstorms on the way for Tuesday, and a bump in temperatures. Might see 70 degrees for us, but then a quick fall after that with 50s on the way for Wednesday. And those chances of showers continuing on. And then after that, pretty smooth sailing and consistent temperatures too. 60s on the way for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll see a potential chance of showers moving into Sunday as well. Something to watch out for. But man, that cool weather is going to start to take on over. So make sure you stay warm this week.
The Idaho Veterans and Patriots Association take vets out off-roading.
String going through.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, and this is the second year of Vets Day Out.
Well, there's a lot of guys and girls, veterans, a lot of people. They only get to see where the bus line brings them. And it's just so much fun to show them really the beauty of Idaho.
Our ride started early in the morning, going over Rocky Canyon and down to Roby Creek, where we got an escort from the Boise County Sheriff's Office.
We are very, very grateful.
And some of the rigs got to play around once we got to Grimes Creek.
I'm so grateful. That was beautiful.
From Grimes Creek, we headed up Pint Creek Road, and Army veteran Albert Poindexter loved this trip, riding in a side-by-side.
To be honest, it was kind of amazing. I got to take some roads that around here, see parts of the Treasure Valley I didn't know existed, some awesome rock formations.
And it's safe to say the veterans, including myself, really enjoyed this ride, as I got to see a part of Idaho I had never seen before during a great time of year to do so.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
The Idaho Veterans and Patriots Association is planning to do another ride next fall, so be on the lookout for the next Vets Day Out.
I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter, Steve Dent, for Idaho News 6.
Meet the Idaho pair with a love story gaining national recognition as they're named America's favorite couple. A love story straight out of a rom-com right here in the Treasure Valley. Back in April, an online competition launched the search for America's favorite couple and received 200,000 entries. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Sahana Patel, and I sat down with the winners who just happened to call Idaho home.
I saw the 19-year-old Brian, and those are his eyes. That's him. It's you. It's you.
Jenny and Brian Drollinger first locked eyes at a high school dance in Alaska back in 1985. They kept in touch by writing letters, but a disconnected phone line in 1989 ended their young love.
We told each other we were going to meet each other for lunch, I think. Mm-hmm. And the next day I called and the phone's disconnected.
It was disconnected because my roommate hadn't paid the phone bill for 3 months.
Thinking they'd been ghosted, the two lost contact for 32 years. Both married, raised families, and eventually moved to Idaho. Years later, a friend encouraged Brian to call Jenny, a paralegal, for help with a legal issue.
And it was just a voice on the other side of the phone, another client.
Until we met again.
They reconnected in 2021, and a year later, they got married. Fast forward to last month, and they were named America's favorite couple in an online competition powered by Colossal.
We're officially America's favorite couple.
That's crazy.
I was a little emotional. I got a little teary-eyed. I am sitting here 40 years to the month that we met as teenagers.
Yep.
And we're winning America's favorite couple.
The Drollingers say they entered to inspire others. The competition also raised nearly $2 million for charities like Oceana and the LA Food Bank, a cause close to Jenny's heart.
I'm thinking of the single mothers out there that are working 2 or 3 jobs just trying to put food on the table for their children. I was a single mom, so that's really powerful to me.
The couple took home $20,000, and their advice for others, simple but timeless.
Communicate clearly and don't let misunderstandings go, and don't be prideful and I'm going to get you back and I'm going to get you back.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Don't play games.
The couple is putting their winning cash to work, turning their love story into a novel and screenplay. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Sahana Patel, for Idaho News 6.
All right, thanks for joining us this morning on Good Morning Idaho, everyone. Still a lot to get to on our last half hour on this Monday. Here's what's still ahead from your neighborhood reporters.
Caldwell Police Department tell me they've seen an increase in stop arm violations, and the culprit might surprise you.
At Boise State, how the Spirit Squad preps to bring the Blue Chaos energy to Albertson Stadium.
Connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Hey, we are back into our last half hour on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on Good Morning Idaho. I'm senior reporter Roland Barrison. A lot to get to in this last half hour from our large team of neighborhood reporters like Keith Burrell, highlighting a problem when it comes to unlicensed drivers in the Treasure Valley. Get this. Drivers as young as 12 years old behind the wheel. He speaks with a Caldwell cop to learn just how common this problem is. Plus, Boise State football getting it done over the weekend, beating New Mexico on the blue. Allie Tripke was at the homecoming game and also brings us a special profile on the Spirit Squad and the work that goes into making homecoming games so electric. But first, let's bring in our Isaiah Sharp with the latest on our weather. It's going to be a very changeable week this week.
Yes, compared to what we saw last week. I remember last Friday we were 74 degrees at 6 a.m., which is not normal, what we usually see. Current temperature sitting into the 40s, more like what we see in the month of October. We're going to have a nice cool day expected. Current temperatures across the region sitting into those mid 40s, 30s up into those mountain ranges. Should be reaching up into the 60s today, maybe a couple of 70s mixed in there. We do have a stray shower. It's passing on through just to the east of the Treasure Valley region, actually having some impact over the top of places like Emmett. Ontario seeing a little bit of activity as well, but we are expecting a dry day this Monday. But when it comes to the rest of this week, what's expected on Tuesday and Wednesday, a couple more showers, maybe even chances of snow on the way. So stick around. I'll detail that in a moment.
All right. Thanks, Isaiah. We turn now to a troubling issue in the Treasure Valley where unlicensed drivers as young apparently as 12 years old are being pulled over on their way to school because they're driving cars they shouldn't be driving, obviously. Our Keith Burrell in Caldwell has a story.
School bus stop signs, an element of driving that many Idahoans learn through driver's ed. I'm your neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell, and Caldwell Police Department tell me that they've seen an increase in stop arm violations, many of which are by students who haven't even started driver's ed.
Officer Tom Defer has been on Caldwell PD's traffic team for the last 4 years. He tells me this year they're seeing more cars running school bus stop arms than usual. And what we didn't expect to learn, some of those drivers are actually underage and unlicensed, as young as 12 years old, taking themselves to and from school.
We're seeing that the violators are unlicensed, not educated in what to do with the bus arms, so they're just going through them, around them. One kid even went around 2 stopped vehicles and then zigzagged through traffic to go around a bus arm.
I rode along with Officer Defer during the Friday morning bus commutes. Thankfully, we didn't witness any serious violations, but that wasn't the case earlier in the week. How many stop arm violations have you done paperwork or seen? It's Friday, just this week.
I've done and investigated 4 bus arm violations, and I know I have at least 1 more pending from yesterday.
Defer tells me more often than not, officers learn these young students are driving without a license, but with their parents' permission. Some buying an extra car, relying on their underage kids to get themselves and even their classmates to school safely. But when cops have to step in,
we do have to wait for somebody to show up with a valid license.
Even without a license, young drivers can still be ticketed, and it can affect their ability to receive a license in the future. Consequences can go further than just fines and tickets. Insurance coverage may not kick in if there's an accident.
We're not expecting 12-year-olds to be driving vehicles. So another caveat to that is an unlicensed driver operating a vehicle may void any insurance on that vehicle. The insurance company may not cover any accident or injury.
An officer deferred tells me that some of those fines can be in excess of $300. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Keith Burrell, for Idaho News 6.
I, Woody McEvers, Mayor of City of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, do proclaim October 14th a day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk.
The city of Coeur d'Alene will honor political activist Charlie Kirk with a day of remembrance tomorrow. The city's mayor announcing the proclamation at a city council meeting last week, but not without public controversy.
If we are to remember, let us remember all victims of gun violence, children in schools, public servants, and neighbors right here in Coeur d'Alene and beyond.
We need to unite around those things that we do believe in. And you highlighted the First Amendment and our right to speak, and I thank you for that. I commend you for that.
So recognizing just one person is going to deepen our divide so much further. And if you think this decision will benefit our community in any way, shape, or form, I am sorry for you.
I believe that the proclamation for Charlie Kirk is a good thing, regardless of political viewpoints. He was kind of a standard bearer for a philosophy of love.
The proclamation reads that honoring Kirk safeguards free speech and provides an opportunity for reflection, prayer, and action. The Day of Remembrance will fall on Charlie Kirk's birthday, October 14th. The conservative political activist was killed while speaking at Utah Valley University on September 10th. Kirk will also be honored in Boise tomorrow. Supporters are planning to gather on the Capitol steps to, quote, honor the mission Charlie started. The event will include a moment of silence, speakers, and a march around the Capitol. The event is sponsored by the Idaho Liberty Dogs and Turning Point USA, among others. Bronco football took care of business on Saturday, beating New Mexico 41-25. It was a close game through three quarters, but the Broncos were able to put up 3 unanswered touchdowns in the fourth quarter to break away. Madsen had a solid day throwing at quarterback for 226 yards and a pair of touchdowns. And on the ground, they leaned heavily on running backs Sire Gaines and Dylan Riley, the pair combining for 38 carries and over 160 yards, and Gaines found the end zone twice. On defense, Boise State ended the day with 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble. The Broncos, now 4-2, will look to keep the momentum rolling against undefeated UNLV on Saturday. Kickoff is set for 1:30 p.m. on the Blue.
Happy homecoming, Broncos. I'm your Boise State neighborhood reporter, Ali Tripke, outside Albertson Stadium as your Boise State Broncos host New Mexico in a Mountain West Conference matchup. It wouldn't be a game on the Blue without the Boise State community, so I'm checking in with the Spirit Squad and how they bring the energy each game day.
Game day on the Blue wouldn't be the same without the fans in the stands. The Blue Thunder Marching Band and the Spirit Squad sparkling on the sidelines.
Boise's fan base, as a whole, just brings so much energy to the Blue every single game.
To catch a glimpse of the hard work these student athletes put in, I stopped by one of their early morning practices leading up to the homecoming game. The teams practice for at least 10 hours each week. In between the tumbling, turns, stunts, and cheers, the squad is building chemistry and character.
They're teaching us how to be a great student, a great athlete, and a great person overall. So I think just the overall impact that Spirit Squad has is my favorite thing about the program.
Homecoming weekend came with extra hours in uniform as they led the homecoming parade and a family and alumni showcase.
So to have all of our families here, it's so special to know that we have such a big support system behind us.
In his 6th year with the program and 1st year as head coach, Spirit Squad alumni Eric Lindgren is looking to lead a competitive squad.
I have very high expectations when it comes to game day and competition, and I like to incorporate all of those things as early on as possible. It's so special, truthfully. As I was driving to practice this morning, I teared up a little bit just because being an alumni of Boise State, I am Boise State through and through.
Ali Tripke, Idaho News 6.
Finally, signs of life for Ashton Jeanty and the Raiders, beating the Tennessee Titans 20-10 on Sunday. A few good moments for Jeanty, who had 75 yards off 23 carries and a touchdown to go along with all of that. The Raiders, now 2-4, look to play the Chiefs at 11 a.m. on Sunday. And Idaho News 6 is your home for Monday Night Football with the Bears taking on the Commanders in D.C. tonight. Caleb Williams and the Bears are coming off back-to-back wins, and the Commanders, led by Jaden Daniels, won their last contest in an upset win over the Chargers. Tonight's game is set for 6:15, and you can catch all the action right here on Idaho News 6. All right, 6:38. Let's take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood today. Starting today, Bannock Street's going to be closed between 10th and 11th Streets for underground water line work. The road is expected to reopen by the end of the day tomorrow, so be prepared for that. A special event in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Meridian to tell you about. Booby Gnome Night at Idaho Pizza Company in Meridian is offering a chance to build a little Halloween gnome. No sewing experience is required, and the cost of the class is $35 starting at 7 p.m. And over at the Egyptian Theater, it is a conversation with the stars for late David Lynch's hit TV series Twin Peaks. Part of a nationwide tour, the lead actors that made the show possible are going to be there to share on camera and behind the scenes stories, as well as photos and autographs for purchase. That's at 7 p.m. tonight. Twin Peaks, remember that?
In Ketchum, the Trailing of the Sheep Festival came to an end with a uniquely Idaho parade. The annual Trailing of the Sheep Festival has become one of the largest celebrations of heritage and history in all of Idaho. I'm your neighborhood reporter Joey Martin in Ketchum, where on Sunday the festival came to an end, but not before Main Street became a sea of sheep.
There used to be about 4 million breeding ewes in Idaho. Now there's less than 175,000.
The sheep business isn't quite what it once was in the Wood River Valley, but that did not stop thousands of people from lining Main Street in Ketchum to catch a glimpse of what remains of one of the Wood River Valley's pioneering industries.
Trailing of the sheep is just an incredible celebration, and it's a way to preserve the history, educate people, and let them see what has really made this valley what it is today.
The festival got its start over 30 years ago when a land use dispute forced the city of Ketchum and Idaho sheep ranchers to come to an agreement. In the end, the Trailing of the Sheep Festival was created.
Yeah, I think you can see by the amount of people that show out to come see it. I think everyone can agree it's a whole lot of fun, and no disputes around the sheep now.
Even the sheep herders know they are part of something special.
It's been a great benefit for us because now they're kind of happy to see us instead of blocking traffic. We still get a few fists or whatever in the air, but mostly everybody's enjoys seeing the sheep.
Over the years, the Trailing of the Sheep Festival, specifically the Sheep Parade, has become one of the state's top must-see events, something the city of Ketchum is grateful for.
This event is something that we look forward to all year. The city actually partners on the parade, and it's something that really celebrates our history and culture, and we're happy to host it every year.
This year's parade featured over 2,000 head of working sheep from Faulkner Land and Livestock.
This is not a reenactment. This is truly sheep needing to trail down through the mountains to get to their next range. And so they are kind enough to let us trail them through Main Street so the public can see this.
While the parade stopped at the edge of town, I was invited by the Faulkners to continue on to the next stop, where the sheep were able to cross the river and catch a rest before moving on to their wintering grounds north of Gooding.
Not a lot of glamour in this industry, but today you guys got glamour. You got to walk down in front of thousands of people. How does that make you feel to be recognized for what you guys do in that way?
It's pretty crazy, to see all the people come out all over the world, really. Yeah, it's fun to meet new people and kind of explain what we do and get the word out about how good lamb chops are.
Reporting in Ketchum, I'm your neighborhood reporter Joey Martin, Idaho News 6.
Cool conditions on the way for Cascade. Temperatures sitting into those 50s and chances of rain on the way. Unfortunately, the wind a part of our forecast for Cascade as well, with gusts potentially reaching up to 22 miles an hour. Coming up on my main forecast, we'll detail chances of even snow on the way for the area in just a few moments.
In Kimberly, voters have consistently said yes to funding requests from the school district, and a levy is on the November ballot once more. I'm your neighborhood reporter Lori in Nettleton in Kimberly to learn why the district is asking voters to approve a supplemental levy for a fourth time, plus an item on the ballot for plant facilities and maintenance.
Kimberly is a very involved community.
3 times now, Kimberly voters have approved an $800,000 per year, 2-year supplemental levy request for the school district. It's up for renewal in the November 4th election.
we still have that small town feeling, and it's okay to say that, it takes a village to raise a child, and we're all part of this process.
Superintendent Luke Schroeder told me the supplemental levy will be used for extracurricular transportation for student clubs, teams, and certain field trips. It will also help fill the gaps in federal funding shortfalls for special education.
Per student, what we received from the federal government is the same amount it was 14 years ago in dollars, and that's with an increase of almost 700 students from when I first began.
The third thing the supplemental levy will pay for is technology, replacing aging COVID-era devices. Also on the ballot is a 10-year, $500,000 per year plant facilities levy to replace a $300,000 per year levy that expires in 2026. But even though the dollar amount is going up, Schroeder says the price tag property owners will pay is actually going down.
Even by increasing the plant facility by $200,000 a year, that amount would drop from $104 to $90, so a decrease of $14 per 100,000.
Those funds are used to buy things like new school buses and to cover maintenance and repair costs for things like the heating and air conditioning system. The district also uses plant facilities funds to purchase 35 acres of land next to the high school for a future school expansion. The election will be held November 4th, and early voting runs October 20th through 31st. I'm your neighborhood reporter Lori in Nettleton in Kimberly for Idaho News 6.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
The temperatures on this Monday, nice and cool, sitting into those 60s for the Treasure Valley region. Only place potentially reaching 70 degrees is Glens Ferry, a couple of 50s into those mountain ranges, a little bit of precipitation on the way for some parts of Idaho. Today expecting to be mostly clear, but that is not the case as we move into the rest of the work week. Tuesday expecting some showers on the way, thunderstorm activity even expected for the Treasure Valley region, but my focus is going to be on Wednesday, where there's a lot of precipitation moving on in. This is an updated map showing kind of the eye of this system right over the top of Murphy. So you see all these little white lines right over the top of Pine. They make their way to Ontario. They kind of move on south, and then over the top of Rowan, you start to see this rotation that's happening. So kind of Melba to Jordan Valley is the indication of a low pressure system passing right over the top of us. This is going to bring in some snow to some of those higher elevations on top of that too, really moving on in during that morning commute on Wednesday. So something to watch out for. We got plenty of rain on the way. Hopefully heading into Thursday, Friday, skies will clear on out. Let's take another look at that system from a different perspective. This is a global forecasting system, and this is showing the low pressure system actually moving a little bit further to the south and right over the top of the Treasure Valley region. So something to watch out for. Tuesday, we'll see those chances of snow expected for the higher elevations in Stanley and in Ketchum. But this shows that low pressure system right over the top of the Twin Falls area. Still going to bring in showers nonetheless for the Treasure Valley area. But then, like I mentioned, hopefully into Thursday and Friday, start to see things clear on out really nicely, and a beautiful weekend hopefully ahead for us. Chances of snow also expected on top of that too. Close to 3.5 inches just to the north of McCall. This is an updated map earlier today. This was showing about a foot of snow expected for the McCall region. So looks like the numbers starting to dwindle down just a little bit. A lot of snow on the way for Wyoming. Hopefully that's a sign for better things to come for our mountain ranges with a little bit more snow on the way for us. Temperatures this week going to be consistently into the 60s, except for tomorrow, where we might actually break into those 70s with those chances of thunderstorms on the way. But then a big dip in temperatures, 50s on the way for Wednesday, and some more rain expected, and then pretty consistent 60s after that. Another chance of showers on the way for Sunday, but the temperature's not going to be warming up anytime soon. So make sure you stay warm this week. Let's get to that traffic.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
And still waiting for that sun to come on up. A nice and quiet morning as expected, but going to take you a little bit of time to get across town. 32 minutes from Caldwell to downtown Boise, as things are starting to pick up a little bit as you go from Caldwell into the Nampa region. Right at that connector near Garrity. That's where we're going to see some traffic picking up eastbound. Westbound's looking great. 16 minutes. Nobody's out there this early in the morning. And travel times a little bit busy. Caldwell to Garrity, 15 minutes, but Garrity to Eagle and Eagle to downtown Boise sitting at 7. So nice and clear as soon as you get past the Garrity exit.
Now we'll look outside from the Treasure Valley Chevy Dealers Tower Cam.
In this morning's GMA First Look, Mark Sanchez is out of the hospital. The former NFL quarterback turned analyst telling a Fox affiliate, "I'm focused on my recovery, and I just want to see my wife. I want to see my son and my 2 baby girls." Sanchez was in Indianapolis to call last Sunday's Colts-Raiders game, but ended up stabbed, hospitalized, and arrested after a violent altercation in a hotel loading dock. This video, obtained by TMZ, shows Sanchez in the moments just before. You can see the truck pulling into the alley to collect used cooking oil from the hotel. Then Sanchez appears in the same alley where prosecutors say he attacked the driver.
He's just thankful to be alive and is recovering at home with his wife.
Sanchez has been booked on felony battery and other charges. And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll have the latest on Mark Sanchez's recovery. With your GMA First Look, I'm Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, New York.
Welcome back, everybody, on a Monday morning. It's 5 minutes before the hour, and we're just wrapping up now. In case you missed it, these are the top stories we're following from our neighborhood reporters.
In Meridian, an update for this abandoned project as a new developer takes charge. Developer Tommy Alquist helped reimagine the real Boise Hole at 8th and Main over a decade ago and bought part of the property at auction for over $6.5 million. Alquist tells me they want to move forward with bringing a multi-use space with retail shops, residential units, and parking.
The trailing of the Sheep Festival has come to an end, but not before the sheep took over Ketchum.
Thousands of people lined Main Street in Ketchum Sunday for the annual Trailing of the Sheep Festival. More than 2,000 working sheep paraded through town on their way to winter grazing grounds. The festival celebrates one of Idaho's pioneering industries and has become one of the state's top must-see events.
Meet the Idaho pair with a love story gaining national recognition as they're named America's favorite couple.
Jenny and Brian Drollinger first locked eyes at a high school dance in Alaska back in 1985. They kept in touch by writing letters, but a disconnected phone line in 1989 ended their young love. Years later, a friend encouraged Brian to call Jenny. They reconnected in 2021, and a year later, they got married. Fast forward to last month, and they were named America's favorite couple. The couple took home $20,000.
And, of course, you can learn more about all these stories on our website. Just head to idahonews6.com.
Now, the Out the Door forecast, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
One more look at that forecast for today. Temperature sitting into the 40s early in this morning and then warming on up into the 60s. Won't get too much higher than about 62, 63 on the day. So just prepare for the cool day. We do have chances of showers heading into the rest of this week, so prepare for that as well. Let's get to your traffic now.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
And a quick update on that traffic. Still waiting for the sun to arrive. It's going to be about 30 minutes to get across town. Starting to pick up a little bit close to that Garrity exit if you're heading into Nampa, so just prepare for that. Things are clear westbound. 16 minutes from downtown Boise to Meridian, and conditions really outside of that Garrity exit, the only spot that we're seeing a lot of traffic. Caldwell to Garrity at 14 minutes. Garrity to Eagle sitting at 7, and Eagle to downtown Boise sitting at 7 minutes as well. Well, the last couple of times we've been talking about baseball, and I, being a big Mariners fan, got the opportunity to see my team for the first time in 24 years in the ALCS.
And they look great, and it bums me out to have to do this shift because I could not watch this game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, compared to the ALDS, which was 15 innings long in Game 5, this was a little bit easier to watch, but absolutely incredible. I mean, I was so nervous after George Springer, but Cal Raleigh getting that home run, getting 62 home runs on the year. It's just absolutely incredible.
He just looks like such a down-to-earth kind of guy. You just unassuming kind of guy.
Yes.
And he's just a massive star.
Well, and he plays the toughest position, catcher. I feel like he gets beat up all the time. But man, just watching him smile and then watching the Mariners do something they haven't done honestly in a really long time. Pretty awesome.
Fun time of year, everyone. More baseball tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.